Craig, bit more on the front of the theatre, please.
The moment when she walks out of the theater for the first time and you see what happened to that street is very impactful. This was actually a big part of how we had to schedule this, was that we shot all the Chinatown stuff pre-destruction, and then we had to give a week for the art department to go through and dig huge craters and cover things in ash and destroy things, and all the different shops that they had meticulously been building and set decking. They had to just go in and just crunch things up and ruin everything.
The art department did such an unbelievable job of turning over the sets from, pre-destruction, post-destruction. It really, really was amazing to kind of go away, shoot some location work, and come back and see it.
I remember seeing that set the first time after it had been destroyed, and it was kind of bittersweet because it was like, it was so alive and there was so much beautiful stuff on this set, but also this is what it was designed to do, and actually in its own way, it's really beautiful, and Simon did an incredible job turning it into this.
Both evacuations are beginning now at the South Street Seaport. Travel south with extreme caution. Heading south, caution.
I think what's unique to our characters, and maybe what does elevate this a little bit, is that they're still learning about this new world that they're kind of thrust into, this new reality that they have to live in. It's strange because the viewers already kind of know the rules. So it's an interesting dynamic that we'll have with the audience.
There's a fairly extended sequence, one of the biggest shoot days we had, which was when we had 300 extras on the back lot, and there's this big kind of exodus scene.
Michael was impassioned right from the beginning. I remember he gave us a visual. He said, when everyone's heading downtown to get to the boats, which we had set up in Quiet Place Part 2, what if the idea of one person going uptown, that there was someone going against the grain, both literally and figuratively? And I just thought that would be such a powerful image and a theme. I definitely revisited in my head images of 9/11, so tragic and so horrific that you couldn't even process them. And it was sort of this philosophical conundrum that also, in a world like A Quiet Place, in the setting of aliens, would be extremely cinematic. And this idea that you just become your most primal self, and what is that most primal self? Do you help the person next to you, or do you abandon the person next to you? It's fight or flight.
The sound of the crowd kind of slowly builds to the point where creatures start attacking, and then it turns into just this kind of war zone. And we had some very fun shots that we got to pull off and do a lot of things practically.
Michael's very specific. He knows exactly what he wants, which is great for us because basically there's no sort of grey areas. So he gives us an idea of what he's after. And from that, I can sort of plan the methodology of how we're going to do it. In fact, all of the time, he gets very excited about it.
3, 2, 1, action.
That day was special because it was the most populated moment in the film. This film is quite solitary until that moment. And so it was so cool to have all that energy to feed off of. That was really cool. And I remember walking onto that set and saying, I'm in a movie. I'm in a big movie.
When we flip cars, we have standard flippers that we use, or we use cannons. In this case, it was a flipper. Then we have the actual vehicle itself, which we make lightweight, and we put explosives in the car. And the idea was the actual car flies over their heads, which is a visual effects car. And then we take over with the landing. So we're doing it from the point where it lands and then it flips into the ambulance. So we test it all, make sure we've got the safety distances ready with the stunt department. And then, we test it over and over again. And then, we just do it on the day and makes lots of noise and flame.
Okay, here we go. We are set. Ready, car, and land.
It sort of culminates in this sequence where she's underneath a car, and we had this really fun rig that Pat Scola, the DP, created.
That had the camera's ability to kind of move around under there in a way that it shouldn't. You're not thinking about it, but it tricks your mind. You're like, wait a minute, how are they moving around under there? And so we kind of went through a couple of different ways of how to do this, and eventually we kind of just came down with it's like Occam's razor, the simplest solution, We're just like, let's just dig a big hole. What it did is it allowed me to be in the trench with the camera, being basically underneath Sam as the car's collapsing on her, and I'm just literally lower than her. So it wasn't something that felt like we were sacrificing the proximity of the car to her and the danger of what's happening.
No, please! Another actor runs under and hides under the car. We pull him out, As we pull him out, the car comes down and crushes on top of Lupita, the special effects rig that was coming down. For this, we had a soft belly underside. We have dust hits and bits of car engine that drop around at the same time. And there's stunts running in the background and things going on there, and the general mayhem.
Watching her play the under the car sequence, you know, the car had some like foam pieces in it and things like that, but we essentially had a car on like hydraulics that we were just dropping down on top of her. And just being under there when the car drops is terrifying. And the fact that she was doing these continuous takes and dragging herself out from that onto this concrete, and I mean, that was just incredible to watch. And it was draining. Like, you could tell that, you know, she had to fight through that for real.
Big days like these are always a challenge, but they're also the most gratifying at the end. When it all comes together, you know, you feel you really have pulled something off, especially everybody walks away in one piece, and we've got everything that we needed of the day.